Namaste, Shubhodaya, Shri Gurubhyo Namah. This is Nitin Sridhar. A warm welcome to everyone to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. Let me begin with a prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swatha Namostute Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyamavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरु परम्परां श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. Once again, very warm welcome to everyone, and a very warm welcome to Acharya Jaishankar Narayanan ji. Thank you, Acharya, for making time for this session. We had originally planned this talk during the Navaratri itself, but unfortunately we had to postpone due to some unavoidable circumstances. Now we are finally back with the session, with the talk on Devi in Upanishads. Before we begin, I just want to give a brief introduction to Acharya Jaishankar ji for those who are unfamiliar with him. Jaishankar Narayanan ji is the Shishya of Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji and has undergone 3-year residential Vedanta course with Puja Swami ji in Asha Vidya Gurukulam, Anekatti, back in 1995 to 1998. He is an alumnus of IIT BHU Varanasi, and he graduated as an engineer and was working in India and later in USA as a software engineer. He, in fact, met his guru, Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji, first at Asha Vidya Gurukulam at Silorsburg in US, and later he did at Anekatti the 3 years course. After completing his course, Jaishankar ji married his wife Sri Vidya, who was also a student at the same Vedanta course. And there later, Puja Swamiji directed Jaishankar ji along with his Guru Bhai Kalyan Kumar ji to build a Gurukulam around 2010. And later they have been, building this Gurukulam. I think the Gurukulam is all set up now, if I'm not mistaken. It's there at Asha Vidya Varshini at Kalidai Kuruchi, Tirunelveli district. Jaishankar ji teaches Vedanta, Samskrita through online and offline modes. So we are very, very fortunate to have Acharya with us. I have been personally following his posts, emails, discussions on Vedanta, and it is a treat to read his arguments and his explanations and expositions. Thank you very much, Acharya, for making time. Please go ahead and start the session. Last 10 minutes or 15 minutes, if we get any questions from the audience, we will take up. So request all the viewers to put any questions you have in the Q&A box so that Acharya can address in the towards the end. Please go ahead, Acharya.
Thank you so much, Nitin ji. So we'll have this session. We'll start with a prayer, although Nitin ji has already done. So this is our Devi here. We have a Sharda temple in our Gurukulam with Vallabha Mahaganapati and Shankaracharya. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvighnam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we'll be looking at Devi, or she is called with many names, correct? Whether it is Maha Tripura Sundari, Lalita, Shakti. In Vedanta or Upanishads, of course, there are many other texts which are talking about Devi, like even Saundarya Lahari of Adi Shankara is a very famous text. Then there is Durga Shaptashati. So in Puranas and even otherwise, there are a lot of texts, devotional texts, and texts which actually talk about how to worship Devi, do Upasana of Devi, and attain Atma Jnanam. So in all these texts also, the final goal of the Devi worship or Upasana is gaining this Atma Jnanam. Therefore, we are now looking at Devi in the Upanishads themselves, which are called Vedanta. Okay, the Upanishads are known as Vedanta because they are found generally at the end of the Vedas. It is like the last, if Veda is a book, these Upanishads are like the last chapter in the Vedas. So they are called Vedanta. And the subject matter of the Vedanta is different from the subject matter of the other portion of the Veda. So the Veda itself can be divided into two parts, we say, the Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda is like a supermarket, okay, because Veda is giving you different types of means to achieve different ends or your desires. So in our tradition, desire is not looked upon as a problem. Understand that. That is one important thing we have to understand. Because desire itself is a privilege. It is a Shakti, correct? We say Icha Shakti. So one of the forms of Devi is the manifestation as Icha Shakti in the human being. In fact, we talk about three Shaktis, correct? Icha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti. All these things are privileges because the amount of knowledge we have, other animals do not have. The kind of things which we can do with our hands and legs and our body, most animals, even though they are more powerful than us, they cannot do it. And similarly, the desiring itself is a privilege because only a human being can desire for a candlelit dinner, or in nowadays everybody wants fast food, correct? You can desire for a pizza or some Chinese food or whatever, correct? A cow doesn't even have the capability to desire for an iPhone or a candlelit dinner, correct? Cow can only have certain things. Its ability to desire is limited, and even what it can know and what it can do are all limited and mostly also driven by, you can say, instinct. But human being is different. We have all these Shakti, but then these Shaktis have to be used with responsibility, correct? That is where it is very important. So desiring is not a problem for us as long as you are able to fulfill the desires in keeping with dharma. That is the most important thing in our Shastra. In Bhagavan in the Gita, in the 7th chapter says, Dharma aviruddha kamosmi bharatarshabha. So I am manifest, or I am in the form of the kamaha, or desire, which is dharma aviruddha, he says, which is not against dharma. Because whenever we are aligned with dharma, we are in harmony with Ishvara, we are in harmony with Bhagavati or Ishvari, whichever way you want to put it. Only when you want to go away from dharma, then there is your ego alone is there. The ahankara is capable of being subjugated by your own likes and dislikes. Understand that. So the human predicament or conflict, the fundamental human conflict, how our Shastra looks at it is that it is the conflict between your likes and dislikes and what is dharma and adharma, or what is right and wrong. So these two things are there. These two things are known also. Everybody knows what is right or wrong instinctively because we have what is called a conscience. And also we have general principles like whatever you would like others to do to you, or in the same way others should behave towards you, you should also behave in the same manner, you should also do the same thing. This is called the golden rule, correct? Based on that only, lot of samanya dharma or universal values one knows instinctively. But even otherwise, if you are confused as a human being, you have the responsibility to know what is right. Even if you are confused yourself, you should take help from your gurus, elders in the family. That is the expectation of the Shastra, because ignorance is not a defense with reference to right and wrong. Even a court of law does not accept ignorance of law as a defense. So, you have to know what is right, but even after knowing what is right, you are not able to do the right thing. In fact, that is the human being's problem, correct? And what is the role of the Shastra here? To goad you towards doing the right thing in spite of your likes and dislikes. So, in the vision of the Shastra, what is success? What is freedom? Means your ability to do the right thing in spite of your likes and dislikes. Correct? You should be free enough to do the right thing. That is the real freedom which the Shastra is talking about, and not just to go thinking that whatever I like, I will do. That's not freedom, really. That means you are a slave of your own likes and dislikes. In fact, it will only lead you to misery in the end. So, anyway, so coming back here, we were talking about the Purva Kanda of the Veda, which is like a supermarket where you can fulfill all your different likes and dislikes, but in the way of dharma, correct? The means have to be dharmic. For that, the Veda is providing you so many different Vaidika karma, you can say, and the ends themselves can be known, like a putra, correct? There is a putra kamishti, or if you want rain, there is a lot of, let us say, drought and all that. There is a kari rishti. Like this, there are different Vaidika karma which are specified for known ends. Then there are unknown ends also, like Swarga. Swarga, nobody has gone and come back and told you that there is Swarga, okay, at least in this age, in the Kali Yuga. So it is basically the end itself is shown by Veda only, that there is something called Swarga where you can have a certain kind of Deva Sharira and you can enjoy things just by, you don't even have to consume. The Devas can enjoy the things just by looking at it, or Paroksha Priyaha Devaha, it is said. So they can enjoy things without consuming it. Indirectly they can enjoy, and that is the thing about this Devaloka. If you are interested in that, also it is giving you certain Vaidika karma that you have to gain so much punya, so that it will take you there. So these things are all talked about in the first part of the Veda. But then the Jnana Kanda is questioning the very premise that I am an individual and I am limited by my body, mind, sense complex. And being a limited individual, to get rid of my limitations, I am seeking so many things, I am desiring so many things. This is the reality of the people in the world. That itself is questioned whether it is really true or not, because our own identity is not really arrived at by any analysis. It is avichara siddha, we say in the Shastra. Nobody has done any vichara. An identity has been foisted on you. You were born to certain parents, whether you are a boy or a girl, or whether you belong to a particular ethnicity or some state, country, everything is foisted on you, and you just swallow it and take a particular identity, and then you are living your life. Whether that is true or not itself has to be understood. That is the subject matter of the Jnana Kanda, where the self knowledge, oneself, one has to know first before even thinking about achieving other things. That is the most important thing. Now, that is taught in the Upanishads. Again, the way it is taught in the Devi also is mentioned. It is very important. There are mentions of Devi in the Upanishads, which we call as principal Upanishads. Okay, the 10 Upanishads which Adi Shankara has commented. In that only Uma Haimavati is mentioned in the Kena Upanishad. In fact, the Adi Shankara, who is called Bhashyakara, he says that Uma there is really only Brahma Vidya. The Vidya itself is called Uma. Through the Brahma Vidya only one can know this Brahman, which is oneself. Okay. So, to know oneself, you require a certain knowledge about yourself, and that Uma or Devi is in that form of that knowledge itself. So, that is how in the Kena Upanishad there is a story. In fact, we'll see that. Then also, Devi is talked about as Maya, Prakriti, Devatma Shakti, like that. In another very important Upanishad called Shvetashvatara Upanishad, lot of the Vakyas of these Upanishads are also analyzed in the Brahma Sutra. So, Adi Shankara has written Bhashya and some of these Vakyas from this Upanishad in the Brahma Sutra itself. Then also the feminine powers are mentioned as different flames of Agni in the Mundaka Upanishad, Kali, Karali, like that. This also we'll see. But then we also have a separate classification of Upanishads called Shakta Upanishads. The Upanishads themselves are actually counted as 108 in number. Of course, there are more than 108 Upanishads, but 108 Upanishads are mentioned in an Upanishad called Muktiko Upanishad. Okay, the Muktiko Upanishad mentions a list of 108 Upanishads. In that again, these 108 are classified as Samanya Upanishad, Vaishnava Upanishad, Shaiva Upanishad, Shakta Upanishad, Yoga Upanishad, like this. In this, again, there are some Shakta Upanishads are there. There, of course, Devi is presented as the ultimate, as the Brahman itself, to be known as oneself. Okay. So, this way, Devi is talked about in the Upanishads as the one who has to be understood as oneself, as the ultimate principle. So, that also we'll see in different Shakta Upanishads how this Advaita Jnanam is actually revealed in the form of Devi. Now, if you take the Kena Upanishad reference, the third chapter of the Kena Upanishad actually starts with Devas victory over Asuras. Okay, Devas have won over the Asuras, but they think their victory is only due to themselves. The Mahima or the glory belongs to themselves, and they are all very proud of their victory. Now, at that time, Yaksha appears there. Okay, and they do not know who this Yaksha is. Yaksha means, you can say, a divine being, and they all want to know who this person is. Somebody who is very bright and glorious, and but he is not one of us. And who is this Yaksha? So they first send Agni to find out who this Yaksha is. Now Agni is going with lot of pride that everybody knows me. I am this great Deva, and in fact, in all the yajnas, I am the main person who carries all the offerings to the different devatas. That is the kind of pride he has. He goes there, but this Yaksha asks Agni, "Who are you?" Before even Agni can ask anything, and then Agni is taken aback. But then he says, "No, no, I am Agni. I can burn everything," like that. Then the Yaksha says, "Okay, then try to burn this grass." Means Agni is not able to burn even a piece of grass. That means his own power, glory is not really his. That is what is revealed there. It is all Brahman's glory only, Brahman's Shakti only is manifest in each and every one of us. To reveal that only this story is told here. So Agni could not burn that, and then he just retreats, goes back with a certain shame. Okay, he felt shameful that he cannot even burn a grass. Then Vayu comes. Same thing, the Yaksha asks, "Yeah, Vayu, who are you?" Then Vayu is saying, "I am Vayu. I am called Matarishva. I can carry anything," like that. Okay. Then he says, "Okay, take this grass, try to lift it, carry it." Means Vayu is not able to do that. Vayu also retreats. Then Indra, the king of all the devas, he goes there, Devendra. And as soon as Indra goes there, that Yaksha vanishes. So then Indra understands, being the Devendra, then he wants to know the Swarupa of this Yaksha, who is this? And then he prays to Uma, we have to say, because you cannot know Shiva or Brahman without Shakti. Only through the Shakti you can know that. So that's what here you see this 3:12. Sa tasmin neva akashe striyam ajagama. So once Indra stays there and wants to know the Swarupa of this Yaksha, who is none other than Brahman, then the Stri came there in the form of Umam Haimavatim Shobhamanam. So one who is glorious, magnificent, excellent, Uma, and who is also Haimavati. Haimavati again can be two meanings are given here. One is the daughter of Himavan, or the one who has all kinds of golden ornaments, who is shining with all these golden ornaments. Himakara Abharana he has. So this Haimavati, Uma, who is none other than Brahmavidya, like that Shankara is saying here, she came and then Indra then asks her, Kim etad yakshamiti? Who is this yaksha? So even Indra had to be taught by somebody else. That is also an important point here, because this Atma Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam cannot be gained by oneself. Even Indra and other devatas, they have to be taught by Uma, somebody else, the Guru, otherwise. For all others, is required to have this knowledge. So once he asks that, then she says, Brahmeti hovacha, Brahmana hava etad vijaye mahiyadhvam iti tataha haiva vidant chakara brahmeti. So then he asks, who is this Yaksha? Means that is Brahman. And even all this, the victory, etc., you think it is yours, but you were made to win only by this Brahman. And so all glory belongs to really this Brahman alone. And without this Brahman, nobody can be there. We are having dependent existence, really speaking. Our very existence is dependent upon Brahman. So in this manner, the reality of oneself as Brahman, Indra knows. Then he teaches it to other devatas also, and they all have a certain glory because they were the first ones to know this. Like this, the Upanishad story goes. So here we see that Uma as Brahma Vidya is talked about in Keno Upanishad. So Vidya itself is feminine gender in Sanskritam, correct? So then it makes sense that Uma Haimavati, and also knowledge is glorious. That's what Shankaracharya says there. That's why she is also Shobhamana. She is glorious, magnificent, excellent, all these things, because knowledge is the greatest thing for us. And she is in the form of this Brahma Vidya itself. In fact, even in the Lalita Sahasranama it comes, correct? Atma Vidya, Mahavidya, Shri Vidya, like that. There are different namas are there. All kinds of knowledge or Jnana Shakti itself is Uma or Haimavati only for us. Devi is that Jnanam. Then in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad also, we have a reference. In fact, in the beginning itself, this Upanishad is asking a question. Kim Karanam Brahma? So is Brahman the Karanam? Jagat Karanam, the Karana of all this entire universe. So our Vedic vision of the Karana is very important for all of us to understand. So I'll spend a few minutes talking about that, because all theologies talk about God as the cause of this world. Okay, God is creator. In that, all the theologies accept that, except for Buddhism and Jainism, they have a different idea about it. Okay, there are some Indian darshanas which do not talk about an Ishvara. They are called Nirishwaravadi. But in general, all the theologies accept Ishvara as the creator, God as the creator. But if God is only the creator, it is not good enough, because any creation requires something out of which this creation is made, correct? See, in general, we talk about two causes. There is a maker or creator. That is one cause. That is called nimitta karana in Sanskritam, or in English you can say efficient cause or intelligent cause. And then we also have upadana karanam, like that. Upadana karanam is the cause which is found wherever the effect is. That's how we look at it. In fact, it can be translated as material cause also, but sometimes this material cause itself is causing confusion, because it need not be always matter or material. Understand that. So even according to modern science, matter and energy, Shakti, is interchangeable. So it need not, and even traditionally also we say Maya Shakti is the Upadana. Maya is the Upadana for this world, material. So you can't call it really material. Whichever cause is there, wherever the effect is, that is called Upadana Karana. Or in English, sometimes we can use the word proximate cause. That is a better word, I think. The cause which comes along with the effect. So if you buy the pot, the potter does not come along with that, correct? Then what comes along with the pot means, if it is a clay pot, clay comes along with the pot. You go and buy some jewelry, the jeweler doesn't come. The goldsmith does not come along with the jewelry. Who comes along with the jewelry? Gold. Gold comes along with the jewelry. So gold is the upadana karana, proximate cause. So like these two things are there. Now if you talk about the entire universe as a creation, see, whether the universe itself is a creation or not cannot be really logically established. There is no clinching logic there also, although many people talk about intelligent design. So there is a huge debate going on between scientists and other theologists about whether this intelligent design can be accepted as a valid reasoning to arrive at a god or a creator. So scientists say that everything is random, and there is even a small probability that randomly something could have come, then we'll go along with that. So you don't have to accept a creator, because they don't accept the world itself as a creation. Unless the world is proved to be a creation, we cannot even talk about a creator. But assuming the world is a creation, you cannot talk only about the creator again. What about the karana, the upadana karana? Means that is where the problem is. Most theologies say that God in heaven created the world, or some of them say God created the world out of nothing. Now, out of nothing, something can never come. Even God cannot do that. So, nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, like that in the Gita, Bhagavan says that. It is a very fundamental thing for us. Non-existent can never become existent. Whatever is existent can never become non-existent. This is a very important concept in Vedanta. It may look very simple when I say this, or it may even look obvious, but lot of important details are there in that, and implications. I cannot go into all that right now, but anyway, so what we say is God cannot create the world out of nothing, and the world also cannot be separate from God. Understand that. Why? Because if world is separate from God, God will be limited by the world itself. God will no more be limitless. So a limitless Ananta Bhagavan cannot be separate from the world. That is one of the fundamental visions, or the fundamental vision of the Veda itself, is that the Vedic vision is that the creation and the creator are not separate. They are one and the same. So for us, Bhagavan is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. And if you look at Bhagavan as Nimitta Karana, it is Bhagavan, or it is masculine. Even in the case of our own body, our own self, it is the truth, correct? Father is only a nimitta. Mother's body only has given birth to our own body, correct? Mother is our upadana karana. My body has come from mother's body. So when we look upon the cause as upadana, then we say it is mother, it is Devi, or it is Maya, it is Prakriti. All these words are all used. And here in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, this is explicitly mentioned. So when it is asked whether Brahman is the Karana, Brahman itself cannot be the Karana by itself. Even Karanatvam is not there in Brahman, really speaking. But how does Brahman become the Karanam? Means Devatma Shaktim is the important thing. So only with the Shakti, this Brahman becomes a Karanam. And Parameshwaryaha Shaktehe Samasta Jagad Vidhainyaha, like this in the commentary, Jaishankar Acharya is saying about this Devatma Shakti. And in fact, Shakti and Shakti Mat, the power and the wielder of power cannot be different for us. They are one and the same. They are not two different things. Even Kalidasa says that Vagartha viva sampriktau Vagartha pratipattaye Jagatah pitarau vande Parvati Parameshwarau. So they are inseparable like word and its meaning. The Shakti and the Shakti Mat, the one who has the Shakti, or Maya and Mayavi, we say. Maya and the wielder of Maya. They are one and the same for us. That is why we have Ardhanarishwara also. It is one and the same. And you can look at it in whichever way you want. We have no problem with, we don't say that God is only Father. In fact, Father itself is a relative term, okay? There can be no father without mother. And if only father is there, then that father will become widower. So the implication of saying God is only father and all is very laughable, okay? It becomes a joke. So without mother, there is no father. Both are always together for us. It is only one entity. You can look upon it as father or mother, it doesn't matter. So here we say that this Brahman itself is known with the Devatma Shakti, and it is there, and that's how one has to understand that, know it, apashyan and all it is said here. Okay. And later on, this Upanishad also talks Mayam tu Prakritim Vidyat, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. So Prakriti is a technical term. Prakriti can generally mean nature also, or it can also mean technically it is the one which has become this Jagat, we say Parinami Upadana, like that it is talked about. It is the one which is manifest or appearing as this entire world. It is Trigunatmika and all we say. It has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So this Prakriti itself is Maya, and the Mayavi is the Maheshwara. So this Shakti again and the Shakti Mat, they are together always. In fact, they are nothing other than this Brahman itself. That's how we understand this. So this is mentioned in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The Shakti or the power by which the world itself appears, world manifests, is this Devi, and one has to understand the Devi as this Param Brahma itself, and that is how one has to understand oneself also. And this Param Brahman is not separate from you. When we say Jagat Karanam, the cause of this entire world, what we normally visualize is somebody, great power, something other than us. But if Bhagavan is manifest as everything, understand that your own body, mind, sense complex also is not separate from this Bhagavan. That's why our creation model is very interesting. We have a 5 elemental model of creation where this Prakriti itself becomes Pancha Mahabhuta, we say, correct? Becomes the 5 elements like space and then wind, fire, water, earth, representing different types of matter, correct? Whether it is solid, liquid, gas, energy, and space. These are the fundamental things. And these 5 elements only has become everything. The entire world is nothing but elementals, correct? They are all. And your own body is made up of these 5 things you can see. But our creation model does not stop only with the physical creation. It says that's where the 3 gunas are also very important. The tamas aspect of these 5 elements have become the gross or physical world. The rajas aspect has become all the life which is there in the body, correct? The body by itself cannot do anything unless the life is there, unless prana is there. So all activity, the physiological activities require prana, and that is the rajas aspect. And then what about the cognitive activities? For that we need the mind and the sense organs. That is the sattva aspect of these 5 elements has become that. So the stula and sukshma sharira itself is accounted for. The entire creation, whether it is physical or subtle, is accounted for in our 5 elemental model. And all this is not separate from Bhagavan. Because Bhagavan only is manifest as all these 5 elements. In fact, that's why we have Panchabhuta Sthala. In Tamil Nadu, we have that Kanchipuram up to Chidambaram, or even it is there in different districts. If you come to Tirunelveli district, there is a Panchabhuta Sthala here also. You can go to all those 5 temples in one day. Okay, the Shankaran Koil is the Prithvi Sthala, like that there are different temples. So this Bhagavan as the Panchabhutas means that he is the Upadana Karana also, or he is Shakti. Without Shakti there is no these Panchabhutas, and that is the vision we have. So don't think that your body mind sense complex is different. It is a manifestation of Bhagavan, and whatever the Dehi, the indweller of the body, is non-separate from Bhagavan, because if Bhagavan is everything, Bhagavan has to be available here and now, and that Bhagavan cannot be separate from you. Then only that Bhagavan is really limitless. And this is the vision one has to understand. This is the vision of the Vedanta. First vision is that to say that there is a Jagat Karanam, but using the Karana Karya Prakriya we call it. It is only a methodology to teach your own reality. First we account for the entire creation by pointing out that there is a Jagat Karanam, Brahma, Asti, Brahma Asti. The one who accepts this Brahman as Asti, that there is a Jagat Karanam, is called Astikya. Okay. So that is the Astikaha, the one who says that Brahman is Asti. Some people say Brahman Nasti also. Okay, they are all Nastikaha. So here the Veda is revealing to us there is a Brahma which is Jagat Karanam, and that everything in this Srishti is non-separate from this Jagat Karanam, including yourself. That is how this oneness is taught. Because everything is only an appearance. Finally, what remains as the unchanging reality is yourself, which is non-separate from this Brahman. This is the methodology of teaching. So deliberately we superimpose and then negate. That is called Adhyaropa Apavada. So this Adhyaropa Apavada methodology is followed here, and during the Adhyaropa, everything is either presented as, you can present it either in masculine gender, feminine gender, it doesn't matter to us. Okay, depending on your proclivity, we can say, correct? Each one has our own preferences. How do we want to worship? In which form we want to worship? We have the freedom for that. That is the greatness of our tradition, correct? That is why Adi Shankara established, we say, Shanmata Sthapanacharya, like that we call the Adi Shankara. So we can accept any form of worship, any name. It doesn't matter to us. All forms of worship are valid. In fact, we validate all forms of worship. Even in the Gita, Bhagavan says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushyav partha sarvashaha. Like that in the 4th chapter. Again he says, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadamyaham. So whoever wants to worship me in whichever form, I bless them in that same form. In fact, everybody is worshipping me only in different ways. And in fact, the faith in whichever form they have, I support that faith, or I am the one who is worshipped in all forms. This is our vision. So we don't have any problem with any name, any form. That's why we are able to accept every form of worship, and whether it is father or mother, or whether it is Ardhanari, whether it is both, or whether it is neither, also it is fine. Okay, that is the beauty of our tradition. So here in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Maya and Devatma Shakti, these are all pointing to Devi only. Okay. Then in the Mundaka Upanishad, there is a mention of these 7 flames of Agni as the feminine powers: Kali, Karali, Manojava, Sulohita, Sudhumravarna, Spulingini, Vishwaruchi, Devi. Like this, these names are all given here. So, Lelayamanaha iti Sapta Jihvaha. So, these are the 7 tongues of Agni. This mention also is there. Here, of course, it is not mentioned like in other Upanishads, but at least the feminine is mentioned here. Then I told you about the Shakta Upanishads in the 108 Upanishads. So these 8 Upanishads are the Shakta Upanishads amongst the 108 Upanishads. Of course, there are more Shakta Upanishads. There is a Kaula Upanishad, Shatchakra Upanishad, like this. Many more are there. So I'm not talking about all of them here, but whatever is mentioned in the 108 alone, I'm talking about. And in this you can see some are from the Rig Veda, one is from Krishna Yajurveda, and others are from the Atharva Veda. And even the numbers are all given here. So Tripura Upanishad is listed as the 82nd in the 108 list. Then there is a Tripura Tapini Upanishad, that is at 80. Then there is a Devi Upanishad, and Bhakfuricha Upanishad, Bhavana Upanishad, Saraswati Rahasya Upanishad, Sita Upanishad, then Saubhagya Lakshmi Upanishad. All these Upanishads are mentioned in the 108 Upanishads. The Tripura Upanishad has only 16 verses or rigs. In fact, it also corresponds to the Shodashakshari, we say. When we talk about Devi Upasana or Sri Vidya Upasana, the 16 syllable mantra is very, very important for us. And you do Upasana with the 16 syllable mantra. The ones who have got Diksha for that only is even considered as a complete Purna Sri Vidya Upasaka. And each verse here represents one syllable there, like that it is looked upon. So the Tripura Upanishad is special. In fact, Bhaskara Raya, who is a very celebrated Shakta and Advaitin also, he wrote the commentary for Lalita Sahasranama also. He is very famous. He has written a commentary on some of the Upanishads here. He has written a commentary on Tripura Upanishad and also Bhavana Upanishad. The Bhavana Upanishad also is a very special Upanishad. We'll talk about it. And Apaya Dikshita also has written a commentary on Bhavana Upanishad. And other than this, there is a Upanishad Brahma Yogin who lived in Kanchipuram. His matham is there. Many people go to Kanchi, but even Vedantins don't go and visit the matha of Upanishad Brahma Yogin. One should go there because he has written commentary on all 108 Upanishads. That's why his actual name is, I think, Ramachandrendra, I think. Ramachandrendra Saraswati, or yeah. But actually, most of us, we don't know Upanishad, know him with that name. We only know as Upanishad Brahma Yogin. Okay, so he has written also commentaries. So you have commentaries on these Upanishads. Those who are interested can read them. In fact, Adayar Library has published all these Upanishads, all the 108 Upanishads in different books with the Upanishad Brahma Yogin commentary, and some of them have been even translated into English, I think. So you have this available. So here we will see some of the, of course, in this small talk, I cannot talk in detail about each of these Upanishads, but we can understand the important things which are revealed in these Upanishads. So first is what is the essence of these Shakta Upanishads? The Shakta Upanishads also are teaching only Advaita. There is no doubt about it. All these commentators whom I mentioned, they are interpreting these Upanishads as teaching the Advaita Tattva or the oneness of the entire world, the individual and the cause of this world, correct? Because only three things are there. Everybody is encountering an objective world. So there is an objective world out there and I, the subject, I am there. Two things at least everybody has to accept. But whether there is a cause for this entire objective world and the subject myself is something one has to arrive at. But our Upanishads, our Vedas, if you accept it as a means of knowledge, then it is revealing to us that there is a Jagat Karanam Brahma. But then while revealing that, what it actually teaches you is that these three things are not really three. They are the manifestation of only one. That alone is real. That alone is Satyam. Whatever you see as three or even two, let us say, correct? This subject, object or Atma, Anatma, this kind of a division is not real. This division is only an appearance. It is only mithya. It is only false. That is negated. The division is negated and then oneness is established. Now the same thing is also taught in the Shakta Upanishad. The same Advaita Tattva is revealed, but again Brahman, the word, instead of that they are using other words like Shakti, Devi, Mahatripura Sundari, Sita, Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, like this. So here in the Bahuricha Upanishad itself it is saying Satyam, Ekam, Lalitakhyam, Vastu, Tad Advitiyam, Akhandartham, Param Brahma. So this Param Brahma is nothing but is known as Lalita. Okay, Param Brahma is revealed as Lalita here in the Bahuricha Upanishad, and that alone is real, Satyam. And that alone is there. Ekam eva advitiyam, we say, correct? Ekam advitiyam means what? That alone is really there. There is nothing other than that. In fact, by saying this Ekam advitiyam, what we really say is that in reality, there is no division or distinctness which we normally associate distinctness between different objects, correct? And again, the distinctness or difference itself is talked about in the Shastra in three ways. We say Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Bheda. So if you say horse, means there are many horses, correct? Horse is a category and there are many instances of that individuals of that horse category. Means that is called Sajatiya Bheda. But here Devi is only one, Lalita, Brahman is only one, means there is no second Brahman. Okay, there may not be second Brahman, but horse, if I say there can be, there, let us say there is only one horse in the entire world. But what about cow? What about buffalo? So many other animals are there. What about human beings? Means that is Vijatiya Bheda. No, Vijatiya Bheda also is not there here. Brahman alone is there. Okay, it is Advitiya, means there is no second. So second is not there, means there cannot be Vijatiya Bheda. There cannot be Sajatiya Bheda also really. Okay, it is only one. Okay, one alone is there, but it can be divided, correct? One human body is divided into so many parts. Internally, intrinsically, it can have certain divisions, parts, and whole concept is there. Even that we don't accept. There is no Swagata Bheda also. It is one whole, partless whole. That is why it is called Akhanda. See, the word Akhanda here is very important. There is no Khanda. It is not divided internally also. So three words are there, correct? Here, Ekam, Advitiyam, Akhandam. These three words point out that the reality is one whole. It can never be divided into Sajatiya or Vijatiya or Swagata. Any kind of Bheda, any kind of Khanda is not there. Any kind of division, distinctness, difference is not there in the reality. That alone is real Satyam. Any differences you see is only an appearance. That is the teaching. And that Akhandam Satyam is Lalita, is Brahma, Param Brahma, and it is not separate from you also. Because this Lalita is also Sachidananda Swarupa and all we say. Sachidananda Lahari, like this it is said in the Shakta Upanishads. Once we say it is Chit, it is Chaitanyam, there is no other conscious entity other than you, correct? You are the conscious entity. As soon as you say Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Jnanam it is said, then it cannot be other than oneself, because I am a conscious entity to whom everything becomes evident. In fact, I am the only conscious entity. You cannot even establish another consciousness, because whatever is an object of consciousness is all only insentient. So there is only one consciousness which is appearing as this entire world. Within that there are sentient beings, insentient things and all that, but all of them have their basis only in one conscious entity. That is the vision of the Veda. That is the same thing which is taught in the Shakta Upanishads also. And in fact, it explicitly says Shakti alone was there in the beginning. Devi he eka agre eva asi. Devi alone was there in the beginning. Means nothing. This world itself was not there. It was all unmanifest, undifferentiated. And from this Devi, only this entire world, this Jagad Andam, she created. And from there, all the Devas, including Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra or Shiva, everybody, they emanated from there. This is the vision in the Shakta Upanishads. That Devi is that one foundational, fundamental entity from whom even the Trimurtis have come, and then they are doing whatever they are supposed to do, correct? Every Devata has a certain function, you can say. In fact, they are able to function only because of the presence of Devi or Brahman. That is our vision. So this Devi alone was there, and from this Devi, all the Devatas have come, and this entire Srishti has come. And so this entire Srishti is non-separate from the Devi. And finally, Devi is non-separate from myself. That is what one has to understand, correct? The entire Sri Vidya Upasana, all the things worship you do, it has to lead you to this knowledge. For that purpose only, it is talked about by the Shastra. We will see that in fact. So, this we can understand that the Advaita Tattva is the essence of the Shakta Upanishads also, to teach you the oneness. Again, Maya also is talked about in all these Shakta Upanishad. So here, the Saraswati Rahasya Upanishad, I am quoting here. Shuddha Sattva Pradhanayam Mayayam Bimbitaha hi Ajaha Sattva Pradhanaha Prakritihi Maya iti Pratipadyate. So, there is this Ajaha, means that which is unborn. Brahman is also called Ajaha because it is really not born. There is no real birth of anything. Understand that. That is the teaching. There is no real birth. The birth itself is only Maya. It is only an appearance. But even in the appearance, there is an Ishvara, we say, who is Sarvajnaha, Sarvashaktiman, who has all knowledge, all power. Correct? The word Bhaga is an interesting word we have. Correct? Bhagavan. Bhagavan word, in fact, many Sanatanis, many Dharmika people themselves don't know the meaning of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is similar to Balavan, Dhanavan, correct? One who has Bala is Balavan. One who has Dhana is Dhanavan, if we say. Like that, one who has Bhaga is Bhagavan. But what is the meaning of Bhaga? Bhaga in general can mean prosperity. But in the Vishnu Purana and even traditionally, Bhaga means we associate it with sixfold qualities. 6 qualities put together is called Bhaga. What are they? Aishwarya, Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashashriyah Jnana Vairagyayoschaiva Shannam Bhaga iti Rana. Like that, there is a, this is quoted by Shankaracharya also in the Gita Bhashya from Vishnu Purana. Bhagavan is the one who has these sixfold qualities. He has overlordship over all. Everything is Samagra there for Bhagavan. Means he is the overlord, he is the boss of everybody. He is the one under whose rule everybody is there. He is not subjected to any laws. That is the Aishwarya. Then he has all power, Virya. He has all glory. All glories really only belong to Bhagavan. In fact, that is said in the Gita also. There is one whole chapter called Vibhuti Yoga where Bhagavan says, wherever you see something glorious, understand that it is me. I am manifest there as the glory, and you can use that for your own upasana, your own contemplation. Like that, he beautifully says there. So here we see that the glory also, all glory belongs to Bhagavan. Then he has all resources also. Bhagavan is not constrained for any resource. He has the Shri. That is why he is Shri Nivasaha. Lakshmi or Shri resides in him. He has all the Shri he wants. And then he has all knowledge also. But with all these things also, one more important thing is there. What is that? Vairagya. Because you cannot say I am Bhagavan and say that I can be happy only if I have this. Or if I have this, I cannot be happy. See, the human being's problem is what? Twofold. One is to think that if I don't have something, I cannot be happy. That is called raga. You have a longing for things because you take yourself as a limited being and you think that by somehow acquiring something, that limitation will go away. But that's not the truth also. But that is the delusion in which people are living, correct? So, without something, I cannot be happy. Other problem is with something, I cannot be happy. Mosquitoes, even one mosquito is good enough. I cannot be happy. Correct? Or I cannot be happy if some people are around me. Both are a problem. Understand that. But Bhagavan doesn't have that problem. Bhagavan doesn't have any wants. Nor like Bhagavan want in the sense that Bhagavan doesn't say that if I have this only I will be happy. Nor Bhagavan can say if I don't have this only I will be happy. In fact, everything is Bhagavan really. Bhagavan cannot say that in fact. That's what we call Vairagya. Vairagya means what? It's not that you are turning away from something or it is translated as dispassion and all that. But really speaking, Vairagya means that for your own happiness, you don't depend upon the presence or absence of anything. Correct? That is the greatest thing. Just be objective towards everything. Now that Bhagavan has in full measure. We also have all these things in small measure. Everything is small with you. Everything is all with Bhagavan. That is Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the one with these 6 things, and Bhagavati also you can say is having those 6 things. Whether it is feminine or masculine, it doesn't matter to us. And that Bhagavan is there because there is this Chaitanyam or Brahman alone. When you look at it through the Shuddha Sattva Pradhana, it is said here, that is the Maya Upadhi. You look upon the Bhagavan through Maya, which is a conditioning factor, you can say. In Sanskritam, we say, talk about Upadhi. Then that same Prakriti, Maya, through that if you see, that is Bhagavan for us. The same Brahman appears as Bhagavan or Bhagavati. And that Maya has 2 Shaktis, we say. Vikshepa and Avriti. So Avarana and Vikshepa. That is also mentioned in the Saraswati Rahasya Upanishad here. Because for all the others, see the magician knows what is magic. There is no cover for the magician, the Mayavi. But for everybody else, there is an Avarana. You think the magic is real. That itself is an Avarana. And only by covering, you can project something, correct? The reality has to be covered and then you can project something else. That is Maya. Maya always has 2 Shaktis, covering projection, cover and project. So the entire world is nothing but a projection, in fact, because the truth, Brahman, is covered, and then the projection takes place. And that's how, see, Vikshepa Shaktihi Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srije. So this projective power alone is creating all the, whatever you say, all the 7 up, 7 down, 14 lokas, all the beings in that entire thing. The objective world, subjective world, everything is a projection of this Vikshepa Shakti only. So Antardrik, Drishayor, Bhedam, Bahischa, Brahma Sargayoho. So even internally, the Drig and Drishya, I am the cognizer subject, and there are objects of my cognition. And again, externally, right from Brahmaji, the creator, up to all the objects which are there, everything is really only the Vikshepa Shakti of this Maya. It is the projective power alone which is appearing as both the subject and object. The subject and object depend upon each other, we say generally. It is interdependent. But anything interdependent has to have a third independent entity on which both of them can depend on. Otherwise, the interdependent things cannot come up, correct? This is talked about in the Upanishad also. It is called Madhu Vidya. Anything which is interdependent is called Madhu. But Madhu itself cannot be there by itself. It has to have a third independent entity. That is the Shakti or Brahman, Param Brahma we talk about. So this way also we understand that. So Maya is presented in the Shakta Upanishads as something which has Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Then Jiva, who is this individual? Is there really an individual means? So we say Brahman alone entered and became this individual. Anena Jivena Anupravisha, like that in Chandogya Upanishad it is there. Brahman alone has entered the Srishti as though this individual and is available because of that for recognition. The same Anupravesha is talked about even in the Bahuricha Upanishad. Here you can see Chid Vidya Advitiya Brahma Samvithi Sachidananda Lahari Mahatripura Sundari Bahihi Antaha Anupravishya Swayam Eka Eva Vibhati. So there is only one who is shining by herself. This Devi Mahatripura Sundari is the one who shines also, correct? Swayam Vibhati also we say. Swayam Jyotihi, Swaprakashaha. All these words are used. Why? Because this Atma or Chaitanyam alone shines by itself. Everything else has to shine after it. Because everything becomes evident to the Chaitanyam or Chetana, consciousness, to which everything becomes evident. So, but consciousness itself need not be objectified. That is what we say Swayam Jyoti. It cannot be objectified, in fact. It is always the subject alone, or it is of the very nature of the subject. That is the consciousness we are talking about. It is always shining. Swaprakashaha means, even in another way we can understand this Swaprakashatam, which is very important. If I ask you, are you there? Correct? Are you there? If I ask, everybody will say, I am there. Now, how did you know I am there? Do you have to see yourself and say, I am there? Do you have to touch yourself and say, I am there? Do you have to smell yourself and say, I am there? Means no. You don't have to use any means of knowledge. You don't have to use any inference also. I am married, therefore I have to be there. There is no inference like that. You don't use any means of knowledge. In fact, to use the means of knowledge, you have to be already there, correct? Your existence have to be self-established. You are a self-existing, self-revealing entity whose presence need not be known through any means of knowledge. In fact, you cannot be objectified by any means of knowledge. That is your very nature. That is the Swayam Prakashatvam we talk about. In fact, that's why this Atma Vidya is very subtle. Knowing oneself, why there is some difficulty. Why do you require a guru? Why the Shastra has to come and reveal your true nature? Because you can raise a question. Hey, everybody knows themselves. What is this nonsense about self-knowledge and all that? You go and ask anybody, are you there? Do you know yourself? Means they will say, yes, I know myself. I am so and so. So why is this requirement for this Upanishad to teach us this self-knowledge? Means there is a confusion. There is a confusion with reference to one's own identity. So that is what this Upanishad is clarifying here. And your real nature is this consciousness alone, which is again available in your own buddhi, correct? Having entered, it is available in external objects as isness, sat, and it is available as chit in your own buddhi to recognize. So everything here is nothing but this chat chit alone, and that is the invariable in each and every cognition also, correct? That is the beauty. See, I say some object is there, correct? How do you know some object is there? Because that object consciousness is, correct? So if I say watch is, watch, I know watch means how do you know watch? Watch consciousness is. I know this cloth means cloth consciousness is. I know my beard means beard consciousness is. In each and every cognition, that object consciousness is. In that the objects are all varying. They are called nama rupa. But what is invariable in each and every cognition is consciousness is, consciousness is, consciousness is. The Satchit is the invariable. That Sadbuddhi never changes. Sadbuddhi navyabhicharati, like that Shankaracharya says in the Gita Bhashya also. It's very important to understand. Pratibodha viditam matam also, Kena Upanishad say. In each and every cognition, we are only focused on the object. But we miss, we take it for granted. We miss the very obvious invariable in each and every cognition, which is yourself as the consciousness is. And that one has to recognize as oneself. Whatever the objects are there, they come and go, they are not real. Whatever comes and goes is not real. Whatever is invariable, whatever is unchanging, that alone is real. That's how we in fact define reality itself. That which can never be sublated, negated, is real. That which never changes. Once you know it as this, it is always the same. That's why, that's how Shankaracharya defines Satyam. In fact, in modern world, there are people who confuse you also. They will say you cannot define truth. Truth is a pathless land. Nobody can define truth and all that. That's not true. Understand that. Our tradition defines truth very well. In fact, one college professor, my Guruji used to go to different universities in US and give lectures on Vedanta. So one philosophy professor in some college, I don't know which, came to him and said, "No, what are you going to talk about? There is no truth. Can you define truth?" Then Swamiji said, "Yes, I can define truth. It is defined in our tradition. That which can never be negated is the truth." Correct? Yad rupena yen nischitam tanna vyabhicharati iti satyam, like that Shankara says in the Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya. Once you have determined as this, it can never change, it can never be negated. That alone is truth. That which can never be negated is the truth. Okay. Then this professor went away. He thought about it the whole night. Then next day he came, even before Swamiji's lecture, he came to my Guruji and said, "Okay, your definition is fine. I cannot find any fault in your definition, but there is nothing like that. There is no truth. There is nothing as truth. Only shunya." There are people who talk about that also, correct? But even for this, what do we say? What did Swamiji tell him? Swamiji said that you can negate everything, but the negator can never be negated. Understand that. That's what is the teaching here. You negate everything. In fact, it's easy to negate, correct? The Vedanta itself is very simple. How do we teach in Vedanta your true self? Only one simple principle. Whatever I know is not I, correct? Whatever is an object of my knowledge is not I. I am the very subject, the consciousness to whom everything becomes evident. Means whatever becomes evident to me, whatever is known by me is only a known object. It is not I. Now in this analysis, if you go by this principle, you yourself will come to know of your own delusion and confusion. Why? Because see, this cloth is not I, correct? Nobody has any delusion that the cloth is I. Nobody has a delusion that these specs are I. But then where does the delusion start? As soon as the skin The body comes, body is also known to you. It is an object of your knowledge. Then how can you say it is I? It is anatma. Body is also not I really, but you have this identification with the body and say, I am dark, I am tall, I am fat. Similarly, the sense organs, the prana, manas, everything, whatever is happening in your mind becomes evident to you. Whatever is happening, the physiological processes, hunger, thirst becomes evident to you. That means you are none of them. In fact, the ultimate in this is what, which if I say it will be difficult for you to assimilate, but that is the truth. What is that? Even suffering is the same, pain is the same. Because you say normal logic is I know my suffering, therefore I am the sufferer. Vedantic logic is completely opposite. I know my suffering, therefore I am not suffering. In fact, I am only I am only the consciousness to whom suffering becomes evident. You are not the sufferer or anything. Pain also is the same thing. That is the teaching here. So the jiva, once you understand the jiva in this manner, that only the Brahman or Shakti alone is appearing even as the jiva, then the jiva Brahma Aikyam, obviously it becomes established, correct? So chitis chaya samaveshad jivaha syat vyavaharika. So the jiva is only a vyavahara in the transactional world. This Chaitanyam alone is appearing. The Chiti Chaya means what? It is Chaya can be translated as shadow and all that, but it is basically appearance. The appearance of consciousness, an embodied consciousness is called as Jiva, but really speaking, consciousness is not embodied. Understand that. You are not an embodied conscious being. In fact, space-time is in you. You are not in space-time. How do I know this? Means every night when you go to sleep, you are there, correct? There is no space-time. But so existence, which is transcending space-time, is your reality. But once you wake up, you think, I am in space-time. I am a particular body, mind, sense complex. Once you think that, you are limited. You have all sorts of problems. That is what is called samsara. Even in dream, the same thing happens, correct? But once you are out of the dream, you know. But you have to get out of waking also, because there is no real difference between waking and dream. Understand that. So get out of the dream called waking also, then you understand your own reality as the one who transcends space-time. So that means the reality of you is what? It is Nirgunam, Nirvikalpam, Brahman. So all these things also are talked about in the Shakta Upanishads. Nirvikalpam, Param Tattvam, Sada Bhutva, Param Bhavet. Like this, the Saubhagya Lakshmi Upanishad says. So you are that reality which doesn't have any division, any distinctionness, any differences. It doesn't have any vikalpa. This subject object also, the divisions are all not there. So tadeva nishkalam brahma nirvikalpam niranjanam tad brahmahamiti jnatva brahma sampadyate kramat. So here also you can see this nishkalam means partless Brahman, which has no division in it, and it doesn't have any taint or any kind of papa, punya, etc. is not there in this Brahman. Brahman is not even the karta bhokta. It is not the doer or enjoyer in reality. That is all only with reference to a body, mind, sense complex. It is Niranjana. And that Brahman is myself, who is free, who is limitless conscious entity. And that Jnanam, once you gain, you become Brahman only. Brahmavid, Brahmaiva Bhavati, we say. So in this manner, and Nirvikalpam Anantam cha Hetu Drishtanta Varjitam Aprameyam Anadyantam Yajñatva Muchyate Buddhaha. So Tripura Tapani Upanishad also is talking about a Mukta Purushar, one who gains freedom from all limitations, correct? Through knowledge. That is the Buddhaha. And how do you know oneself? As Nirvikalpa, Ananta, not restricted by space, time, or any objects. Limitless in all respects, and one who doesn't have any comparison with anything. Hetu Drishtanta, and one who is uncaused also. I am the uncaused entity who is free from even space-time. Without space-time, there is no causation also. Understand that. And aprameya means what? I cannot be objectified by anything. That is why I can never be destroyed also. Correct? This is talked about in detail in Bhagavad Gita also by Bhagavan. So that is my reality. So I am the Nirupadika Samvideva Kameshwara. This is also said in the Bhavana Upanishad. The Kameshwara, Kameshwari, Kameshwara are presented together. Correct? And that Nirupadika Samvid means what? Without any conditioning factors, anything associated with the unassociated consciousness is this Brahman or Kameshwara, and Sadananda Purna Swatma Eva Paradevata Lalita. So this Lalita is the Ananda, because oneself is not only this limitless conscious entity, but oneself is the source of all Ananda. That also one has to understand, because only the self alone is loved unconditionally. So our logic is that anything which you love, anything which is dear to you, is why? Because it invokes the pleased you, correct? In its presence you feel happy. If something is not making you happy, you will get rid of it. That means everything is conditionally loved, but the only thing which is unconditionally loved is the self itself. If it is unconditionally loved, it has to be the source of all happiness also. Understand that, because happiness is neither an object nor a quality of anything in the world. So if it is neither an object nor a quality, the entire world is gone. Then what else is left as the source of happiness? Means it has to be yourself. That is why in sleep you are the most happy, correct? Everybody wants to have good sleep. That is the beauty, correct? So you don't really require anything to be happy. That's what you have to understand. And finally, even this Ajati Vada, I said, in reality there is no creation. Creation is only an appearance, correct? You saw a snake on the rope. If you go to the rope and ask, when did you become snake? Means it will say, when did I become? I am not created or anything. I never became any snake, correct? There was no snake. Nothing was really born. So this is said, this is there in the Gaudapada Karika also, but same verse is there in the Tripura Tapani Upanishad. Na nirodho na chotpattihi na baddhaha na cha sadhakaha na mumukshur na vai muktaha ityesha paramarthata. So in reality what? There is no pralaya, or there is no creation or dissolution. There is no bound. There is no sadhaka also. There is no one who is really seeking. The seeking itself is in all, it's like dream only. It is all only an appearance. And there is no one who is really a mumukshu or the desirer for moksha. And even the mukti also is all, there is no real mukti. The mukti is as real as the bandha, correct? As real as the bondage. That is the ultimate reality. The Ajati Vada, that is also presented here. So you can see the Shakta Upanishads are not any different from the regular Advaita teaching which is there in the other Upanishads. And in this, but the Shakta was associated with many practices which were not palatable traditionally. That is all called Vamachara, Kulachara and all that. But then there is also a Dakshinachara or Samayachara. So what we follow, particularly in the South India, is the Samayachara, we say, where the Samya is there between Shakti and Shiva, we say, in 5 things. Their abode, their state, and even the way to worship them, their form, name, etc. It's all, they are all equal, whether you call it Shambhu or Shakti. So the 5-fold equality, based on this, again, the Shakti and Shambhu are one entity, but they are looked upon as the parents of this universe. And more importantly, for students of Vedanta, even more important than doing external puja like Navavarana puja or Sri Chakra puja, or even in Sri Vidya we can do Suhasini puja to women also. But all that one can do with bhavana as upasana. That is very, very important. So internally you do this entire Sri Chakra puja, not externally. And how do I know this? Means you have to know even this procedure and all from a guru only, correct? So here, when you say internally you do this in Samayachara, the body itself is looked upon as Sri Chakra. And what is the basis for this? Means the Bhavana Upanishad is entirely about this only. You can go and read the Bhavana Upanishad. I cannot go through the entire details here, but there Shri, the Guru itself, the Guru is presented as the Sarva Karana Bhuta Shakti. This Shakti is not separate from the Guru, and then from this only this entire, the body with 9 apertures, correct, are there. Navarandhra Rupaha Dehaha, and similarly the Shri Chakra also has Nava Shakti, correct, Nava Shakti Rupam, so the Samya is there between them. So you do, the Shri Chakra is not separate from your body. Your body itself is the Shri Chakra, and then each and every Upachara with reference to yourself, how do you do that? Even offering a Naivedya, Namaskara, Dhupa, Deepa, everything is given out in this Upanishad beautifully, and everything you do only with bhavana, in your own mind, in your own thoughts. You don't even have to do it externally. This is the highest form of puja, Shri Chakra Puja, and the result of that is what? The Shri Chakra Puja itself should lead you to this understanding, Nyatri Jnana Nyayanam Abheda Bhavanam. So during this puja, you have to look upon the knower, known, and the knowledge itself as non-separate. They are all one reality. One Chaitanyam alone is appearing as both the knower and known, and even the knowledge which takes place. Everything is this reality alone. Looking upon this with Abheda Bhavana, with looking upon all these things as one without any division, is real Shri Chakra Puja. So, like this, the Bhavana Upanishad is a very important Upanishad. In fact, to do all these things, again, you have to have the Guru has to be there. You have to take Diksha from some Guru, then only you can do all these things. But initially, you start with external puja, then mantra japa and all that, and then you do everything as a bhavana internally. And one who can do this bhavana for 1 muhurta or 2 muhurtas or 3 muhurta. 1 muhurta means typically it is 48 minutes. Even if you can do this bhavanaya for 48 minutes, this Upanishad says you will become a Jivan Mukta. You will become a Mukta Purusha. Because to assimilate this Advaita Jnanam, one has to have Sarvatma Bhava. One has to look upon this entire world as oneself, non-separate from oneself. For this, all these upasanas are very useful, because all of us are not, in fact, 99.999% of people are not Uttama Adhikari. We are all only Mandha Madhyama Adhikari. We require upasana. That's where the Sri Vidya Upasana, Shakti Upasana, Devi Upasana, all these things are very important. In these Upanishads, in fact, lot more details about this Devi worship, the meaning of these mantras, all those things are also given. I didn't go into all those details too much, but for that, in fact, we have to go and read each Upanishad in detail. But this Bhavana Upanishad, you can check out. And so, with that, we'll come to a close here. Any questions I can take now? 64 yoginis. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Acharya. Should I read out the questions?
Yeah, you can read. Yeah.
So the first question is, do we have a mention of the 64 yoginis in the Upanishads?
Yeah, in the Bhavana Upanishad also, the yoginis, the Shaktis are all talked about as being there in different parts of your body. In fact, Chatushashti Koti Yogini, it is said in the Lalita Sahasranama. So the 64 crores of Yogini Gana Sevita and all, it is said about the Devi. Of course, yeah, you can go into so much detail. Even within your body, there are billions of cells and all that. We can consider like that also. There is no, it's all only a bhavana, correct? That is how we have to look at it. And it is explicitly, the names are all given. In fact, if you read the Bhavana Upanishad, in each part of your body, which are in different chakras also, which yoginis are there, all these things are talked about.
Another question we have received is, the basis of Maya is Vikshepa Shakti. However, is this not a paradox, as Brahman is Gunatita? How does Shakti arise when Brahman is Gunatita?
That is true. See, that way Agatita Gatana Patiyasi Maya, we say, correct? Whatever you say as paradox or whatever is not possible is made possible. That is Maya, in fact. That is why we say it is Maya, it is only an appearance. So if you say that snake cannot be there in rope, I agree. Rope is snake atita. But for the one who sees the snake, we have to say snake is nothing but rope, correct? You can say, how can snake be rope? Means, but that is the truth. That is what we are revealing. So the paradox is made not a paradox by showing that in reality there is Brahman alone who is Gunatita. Understand that. That is what is we also call it as Badayam Samanadhikaran. We say, when we say snake is rope, we are not trying to tell you that there is some real snake in the rope, or the snake has, or rope has snakeness. It is to negate the snakeness. Only we are talking about snake is rope. That is called Bada Samanadhikaranyam, means there is a opposition, correct? When you say rose is red, that is a different kind of opposition. But snake is rope is a different kind of meaning totally, correct? Where you totally negate the snake and reveal the rope. Same thing here. We talk about all the gunas, but finally we say that this Prakriti or gunas are nothing other than Brahman, means there they are negated and Brahman is revealed as Gunatita.
Thank you, Acharya. Another question is, which commentary of Bhavana Upanishad would you suggest, especially in English, if there are any?
In English, I think the Adyar library has given the Upanishad Brahma Yogin based English translation is available.
Okay.
But if you know Sanskritam, you can also read, there is a small commentary by Appaya Dikshita. And Appaya Dikshita is a very highly acclaimed Advaita Acharya. And he has written a commentary, means that Bhavana Upanishad, we have to take it very seriously, I think. And also Bhaskara Raya has written a commentary. For those who know Sanskritam, all three you can read. There is no problem. Okay.
Is the Adyar library, is it accessible online? Somebody, is there?
It is available even in archive. You can go to some of these Adyar library books are all available on the internet. But if you want to buy, you can go to Adyar library and buy. Okay.
One final question before we wrap up. So you mentioned about Dakshinachara, Samayachara, Vamachara. So can you just shed more light about their overlapping as well as their mutual differences?
See, the Vamachara or Kulachara are all more, I would say, externally focused. Okay. All the controversies came because they started doing puja with women there. And some of the practices then became unacceptable, or also they are more, you can say, mystic or esoteric and all that. And also it got focused more on gaining siddhis, etc. So that's why the Shakta Upanishads themselves are more focusing not on the siddhis. In fact, the highest siddhi is to know oneself as Brahman. There is no other siddhi than that. So that's why the Shakta Upanishads themselves, I wanted to show that they are focusing more on the Advaita Tattvam and Jnanam, and the Sri Vidya Upasana and Samayachara or Dakshinachara itself is basically a means for gaining this knowledge or assimilating this knowledge. Correct? So that is where the main difference is. It is not for gaining any other siddhi or even the Ashta Maha Siddhi, etc. we talk about. It's not for that purpose. The Samayachara is mainly focused on, that is why again from external it becomes internal. There will not be any controversy if Sri Chakra itself is now visualized in your own body and then you are doing all the upacharas as bhavana within you. That is the greatness here.
I think we can consider all of them as parallel.
Correct. Depends on your interest again. There is no right
based
or
on,
wrong.
yeah,
Also,
exactly. Right or wrong.
even Kulachara or Vamachara can become a Chitta Shuddhi. Sometimes some acharyas even say this, depending on how you do it anyway.
And who it is said. Not every path is for everybody. You have to have that required temperament and competency.
Right. I think Bhaskara Raya himself explicitly says somewhere that one should not do ninda of anybody else, because different darshanas or different things are said for different people. Unless you are in their shoes, you won't understand that. But you do whatever is for you, whatever is proper, correct, or whatever you are looking for based on that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Acharya, for a very wonderful session, for introducing us to the how Devi has been enunciated in the Upanishads. Thank you very much for making time for the session. Viewers, with this we come to the conclusion of this Weekend with Wisdom. Let me close with a prayer. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om.
Om Tat Sat.
Thank you again, Acharya. Namaste.